freedom seeker. I'm Yvonne Davis, and today's video is going to be a daily affirmation about our fiery energy. Everybody has fire energy. The reason why I'm doing this video today is because, as an astrologer, I know that we are moving into a time in our history where we are experiencing some very intense cosmic energy and planetary alignments that will trigger that fiery energy. And so I want to talk about that because what I found over the years that is so important is that people develop a healthy relationship with their fire energy. So let me give you some examples of what I mean by fire energy. So Mars is the planet of war, the planet of the warrior. And that planet has a very fiery energy, okay? Mars rules Aries, which is just another name for the war god, the warrior. And it has the element of fire. And what I've discovered over the years through my training in nonviolent communication was that most people do not understand the fire energy. We label it as the emotion anger. And we might say something like, I'm angry. Or we use some other word that is synonymous with anger. So the first thing that I discovered in working with nonviolent communication was that we needed to develop a vocabulary for our emotions, for our feelings, in order to be able to understand them and work with them and communicate them to other people in order to get our needs met. However, I found that it goes even farther than being able to say, I feel angry. Now, there's a difference between saying I am angry and I feel angry, okay? There's a big difference. And rather than explaining the difference to you, I would prefer that you just meditate on why that makes such a difference. But going further, although, in nonviolent communication, it does make sense to say, I feel angry, or I feel frustrated, or I feel irritated, or any of the other varieties of words in that flavor of feelings. While it can be helpful to have a vocabulary and to be able to express the feeling to oneself for the purpose of self-empathy, and possibly express it to another person if needs are not being met, what I found is that it's actually even more effective if you just don't use words like anger, because they have so many connotations attached to them, and people have not learned to have healthy relationships with their own anger or the anger of other people. So I found that rather than even using the word anger or any of the synonyms for that word, to just use the word fire, your fire energy. Everybody has fire energy. So now you have a little bit of understanding of what the fire energy might look like or feel like, and why I'm talking about it. Because a lot of people are channeling the cosmic fire energy, but it's not coming through a clear channel and getting grounded. Rather, it's knocking against all of their woundedness that is trapped in their energetic body, sort of like a ping pong ball. Or a ping pong, those games, the pin games where you push the buttons. It's been a long time. People don't play those games anymore, and I've forgotten what it's called, but I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. I don't know if it's called pinball or something like that. But anyway, you know what I'm talking about. And so then that energy just goes ping pong, ping pong, ping pong all over inside their channel, and comes out in very destructive ways, okay? Or they may even stuff it until it finally erupts in a volcano of rage. So the key is this: first, to understand everybody has fire energy, okay? It's just part of the universe. Everybody has fire energy. There's no way not to have fire energy. There's literally no way to have fire energy. So since we all have it, the key really is to understand it and to develop a healthy relationship with that fire energy. And so you might work with an affirmation such as, I welcome my fire energy. I love my fire energy. And I want to have a really healthy relationship with my fire energy because I know that my fire energy is here to help me. And that is true. Your fire energy is here to help you. And it does a number of different things. One of the things is it burns through the frozen, blocked energy that we hold in our bodies. That the frozen, blocked energy is clumped energy that we've held in our energetic bodies since we were children. If we were wounded or experienced any kind of trauma, we didn't know how to process it when we were children, and so it gets clumped, and then we hold it in our energetic bodies for virtually forever. It never goes away unless we do healing processes, okay? So the fire energy can actually help to break up that clump stuff because it's like frozen, hard, like going to the Antarctic, and getting a core sample. That stuff was really, really hard and frozen. It has to be melted and broken up in order to begin the process of healing and dissolving those energetic clumps. So the fire energy can actually help with that. It can be a little bit scary because a lot of times people don't want to go through that healing process. And because then all that toxic material will come up and have to be dealt with, and that can be really scary. But just understand that the fire energy is there to help you. And if you're ready to go through that healing process, the fire energy can help you with that, to help break up, to melt and break up that clumped, toxic, hardened energy. It's a little difficult to explain, but I've made many videos when I talk about this, so you might want to check out some of those other videos. But anyways, that's one of the things that the anger energy, the fire energy, can do for you, okay? Again, I recommend actually using the word fire energy as much as possible, as often as possible, to get away from the connotations that so many people have around the concept of anger. The anger is bad, it's destructive, it's violent, and try to push it away or repress it. Because when we do that, we're causing harm to ourselves. And the repression of the anger actually leads to volcanic eruptions later. But when we think of it as fire energy, then we understand, okay, this is just an energy that's flowing through me all the time. Sometimes it's stronger than other times. How can I use this energy? Will it speak to me? And the answer is yes. It will definitely speak to you if you're willing to listen to it. It will tell you what needs are longing to be met. So a lot of people right now are experiencing fire energy because of the astrological alignments, but they don't have a healthy relationship with their fire energy, and thus they don't know how to listen to it or to use it for the purpose of finding out what needs are longing to be met, to do self-empathy, or to work toward breaking down those clumped, wounded pieces of lead in their energetic body. So they don't understand that that's what's happening, and thus they don't understand how to work with that energy. So anyway, that's one of the things that the fire energy can help you with, is to melt and break up the clumped energy of the wounds that you've been holding since childhood. Secondly, it can motivate you. It is an amazing motivational energy. So let's say you notice yourself getting triggered. You notice that fire energy coming up, whatever you want to call it. You just start to notice it. And then you can ask yourself, what need is longing to be met? Maybe a need for honesty, fairness, justice, integrity. There's so many needs that could be longing to be met. Maybe you're not happy at work. You want more freedom, self-expression. These are all needs. And if at any point you don't have a vocabulary for needs, just go online and Google. There are many websites on nonviolent communication that list out the needs. Or you can get the book Nonviolent Communication. There's a list of needs. And begin to develop a vocabulary of needs. Because once you can point to the need, then you can find a strategy to help you meet that need. But we just start with self-empathy, noticing the fire energy, noticing it coming up, noticing there was something that triggered it, and then giving yourself empathy and listening to it to see what needs are longing to be met, okay? And then developing that vocabulary of needs. So that's the second thing it can do for you. It can communicate to you what needs are longing to be met. And thirdly, give you the motivational energy to meet those needs, okay? So I suggested something like, maybe you're not happy at work. Maybe you'd rather have more freedom and independence and self-expression. Well, you need that motivational energy because at night you might be tired, or on the weekend you might be tired. And yet, if that's where you have some free time to begin building another pathway to meet those needs for freedom, independence, liberation, self-expression, then you need that fire energy to give you the motivational energy to do this, okay? So don't block that energy, but rather welcome it. Understand, it's just fire energy. There's nothing wrong with it. Welcome it. It will help you. It will give you the energy and motivation you need to melt the lead that's trapped in your energetic body, to communicate to you what needs are longing to be met, and to give you the motivational energy to move toward strategies that can meet those needs. And finally, one of the things that the fire energy is there to do is to help you set healthy boundaries, okay? And just like people in our culture are afraid of their fire energy, they have all these negative connotations about it. They're afraid of it, and they push it away or repress it or run away from it. That's conflict avoidance. They do all these things because they don't have a healthy relationship with their fire energy, with their inner warrior. And so we can set boundaries with that fire energy and to say that whatever's happening is not acceptable. But we don't do this in a way that is obnoxious or blaming or shaming or guilt tripping other people or trying to manipulate or dominate other people or becoming a victim. None of that works. And if you look back in your life and you can see situations where needs were not being met, people were crossing boundaries, then you know that what I'm saying is true. Those ways of meeting the need for healthy boundaries, they just simply don't work. What works is the self, okay? The relationship with the self, the relationship with the fire energy, the relationship with your inner warrior. That's the only person you need to have a conversation with in the end. As has been said and is absolutely true, no is a complete sentence. Now, if you want to explain to someone why the answer is no, that's your free choice. But in the end, no is a complete sentence. Okay. And the only conversation you really need to have is with yourself. Because once you have that conversation with yourself and you say no to this and yes to that, that's a third chakra activity. That's setting boundaries. And your fire energy will help you to do that. Okay. Your inner spiritual warrior will help you to do that. But you only need to have that conversation with yourself. Okay. And if other people don't like it, that's not your problem in the end. Okay. And too often we make it our problem. And one of the things that Don Juan Matus taught to Carlos Castaneda in the warrior teachings was that a warrior has nothing to defend, which may sound ironic. How can I be talking about setting boundaries and at the same time say a warrior has nothing to defend? The reason is because once you set those boundaries internally and you know for a fact that that boundary is there and you are using your fire energy, channeling that fire energy, not in a way that is shaming, blaming, or guilt tripping, or manipulating, or dominating other people, or playing the victim, none of those things, but in a way that just knows the truth about your boundaries. That's all you need to know. When you truly know the truth about your boundaries, you don't have to say anything. The energy is projected out into the world and it reflects back to us. That's why you only need to have a conversation with yourself about what your boundaries are, and then you don't need to defend it. Okay? So here's the thing. Sometimes when we are communicating our boundaries to other people, we make it personal. You did this, you did that. How could you do that? That is so wrong. I can't believe you did that. And now you got to go tell everybody the story about what so-and-so did. Can you believe they did this? That is unbelievable. And all about the shaming, blaming, guilt tripping, victimizing oneself in that situation. You become the victim in that situation of this other person's unbelievable behavior. And it becomes personal. But the funny thing is that boundaries aren't personal. Has nothing to do with your mother, has nothing to do with your father, has nothing to do with your sister or your brother or your boss or the president of the United States or anybody else who's doing anything, the person who cut you off in traffic, whatever. The waitress who ignored you or whatever. It's nothing personal, it has nothing to do with them, okay? It's simply acknowledging your own boundaries. And when those boundaries are crossed and you've had a conversation with yourself about what needs you want to meet and you communicate them, if they don't respect it and acknowledge it and in a sense change that behavior to either meet the need or to leave, then you leave. It's as simple as that, and what I found is that if you can transform the boundaries within yourself, you actually don't have to leave, because the energy shift in yourself will project outward. And when a person feels that energy projection of a boundary, they literally can't cross it. It's very magical. I used to say to my friend who never locked his house that he used magic to lock his door. And I really meant it. There was an energetic boundary. He literally even left his doors wide open in the middle of the summer because it was hot in the city and never, ever, ever had a single problem because energetically the boundaries were already there and no one could cross them. And so that's why you only need to have a conversation with yourself. Once you've had that conversation with yourself and your fire energy, and you said, okay, this is the way it's going to be from here on out, there's nothing left to defend. There's nothing to defend. It's not personal. You don't need to defend it. No is a complete sentence. When you really, really set that boundary energetically, all of this becomes true. There's no argument. There's no need to argue. There's no need to defend anything. It's there. It's true. It's fact. It's just like the Wall of China. It's there. It's true. It's fact. You don't need to argue about it and say, well, I don't think that wall is really there. Yeah, it's there. I can assure you it's there. And when your boundaries are there and they're healthy and there's no debate, believe me, people feel it energetically. Just like if they walk straight up to the Wall of China and slam right into it, they know it's there. It's real. There's no debate about it. And that's the way you can be too. But again, it's not about being angry. It's not about being defensive. It's not about blaming, shaming, guilt tripping, victimizing. None of that. In fact, that's the opposite of having true healthy boundaries. So this has been a discussion about fire energy, about the fact that we all have it, about the fact that it's here to help us, and the ways that it's here to help us. And so I want to go back to the idea of an affirmation that you can use. You can say, I have a healthy relationship with my fire energy. I feel it. I enjoy it. It feels good. And I will use this fire energy in a very constructive and healthy way today. So play with that affirmation and notice if you get triggered today. And then take that deeper down into exploring your subconscious, into giving yourself empathy, into developing your vocabulary of needs and seeing what needs are longing to be met. And then using that fire energy as motivation to meet those needs. All right, so I'm going to bring this to a close now. And I hope that listening to this at any time of day, morning, noon, or night, can be helpful to you. But it might be a good way to start your day as you're getting ready for work, if you have time just to listen while you're dressing or while you're driving, so that you can be taking in this message and it can be working on your subconscious without even needing to take time out during the day if you don't have that time. So please listen to this multiple times as you work with developing a healthy relationship with your fire energy. And that's it for today. And I will see you again in the next video.